And now the story of a wealthy family who lost everything, and the one man who had no choice but to explain what happened. It's Arrested Development, Season 4 Recap. Hey everybody, Tony here to talk to you about what is straight up my favorite show of all time. I even like the original cut of Season 4. Now I could spend hours talking about all the show's best jokes.
Cuckoo-ca-cha! Oh no, Mr. F.
But instead I'm just gonna tell you everything you need to know to get ready for Season 5, which is coming up very soon. But before we do that, why not hit that subscribe button to stay up to date with all of GameSpot Universe's awesome TV and movie coverage. Now Season 4 sets up a completely new status quo for our beloved Bluth family. The company is in someone else's hands, the family members are scattered all across Orange County, but if you don't have time to watch the Season 4 remix, don't sweat it. Here's what you need to know to get ready for Arrested Development Season 5. We'll start with the center of the Bluth family, Michael. Season 4 kicks off with Michael selling his shares of the Bluth company to try his hand at building his own housing development, Sudden Valley. That ends up being a complete failure, in part because there isn't even a paved road connected to the community, so he moves into his son George Michael's college dorm. After getting kicked out of there, he finds himself in a meeting with Ron Howard, who wants to adapt the Bluth family story into a film about the collapse of the housing market. All Michael has to do is get his family's signatures. Easier said than done.
You do this for me?
Of course I will.
And then didn't surprise him.
You'll do something for me.
This also leads to some romantic encounters with one Rebel Allie. That comes to an end for, frankly, quite a few reasons, but the movie is still technically on the table. The last we saw of Michael, he intended to sleep with Lucille too, the one who bought his Bluth company shares in the first place, to recoup some of the debt of Sudden Valley. Look, just don't use any member of the Bluth family as your moral compass, okay? Not even Michael. Now let's talk about Michael's adopted sister, Lindsay. As expected, her marriage to Tobias ends, again, at the start of Season 4. This leads to a relationship with the face-blind Marky Bark, whom she later stiffs for politician Herbert Love. Let's be real, we'd all leave our significant others for Terry Crews. All of this leads to Lindsay taking a bigger interest in politics than ever before, and with Herbert Love indisposed, we'll come back to that later, she takes the stage during the finale. And we can see that political spark carry over into Season 5, thanks to the trailer.
I want to be part of the problem, Michael.
Speaking of sparks, let's talk about Job, the flashy magician / older brother. Job's Season 4 arc is one bit of deceit after another. He fakes his love for, whatever her name is, pretends to be a Christian to do magic in church, and fakes himself out via a deep roofie circle. But he's not all bad. He does help fill Michael's Sudden Valley community with, sex offenders. Seriously, don't do anything any Bluth does. But his main motivation is getting revenge on the now gay magician Tony Wonder, a plot which leads to the two of them actually having real feelings for each other. We'll see if the two of them can find actual happiness in Season 5. Speaking of happiness, George Michael spends Season 4 getting a lot accomplished. He goes to college, spends some time in Spain, and even creates his own tech startup. Problem is, the company Fake Block is exactly that, fake. He has a chance to fix this, but instead hypes up the company during Cinco de Cuatro, which is also totally fake. Now, I'm no Barry Zuckercorn, but I wouldn't be surprised if he deals with some big legal ramifications in Season 5. George Michael also spends the season dating one Rebel Allie under the assumed name George Maharis. Hey, isn't that the name of Michael's girlfriend too?
It sure is.
This leads to a confrontation between the two men, and probably the biggest character moment for George Michael so far.
It's like we're identical twins.
So we'll have to deal with that next season. Also, George Michael totally has a kid now.
Ay, Dios mío.
Let's talk about another one of George Michael's lovers. Sort of. It's complicated. Anyway, MAEBY spends a big chunk of Season 4 juggling her movie studio job and staying in high school in an attempt to make her parents notice her. Yeah, it doesn't work. She then spends some time hyping up Fake Block for George Michael, but the real crux of her story comes during the final episodes. She sleeps with her boyfriend Perfecto, which in of itself isn't a big deal, except...
I'm 17.
Ha! You're 17.
Yeah.
I'm 23.
You know what? One more time for the people in the back. Don't be like the Bluths. And this leads to MAEBY totally getting arrested. At least she can live in Sudden Valley with the rest of the sex offenders. As expected, Buster spends much of Season 4 moving from one mother to the other, between Lucille and Lucille 2. Neither works out, and he ends up returning to the army as a drone pilot. Once he realizes he's not playing video games but commanding an actual drone, he winds up hospitalized from the shock, where he gets fitted for a new hand. At least this time getting the new hand was way less painful. As a veteran, Buster spends time with the Love family, where of course his mommy issues become a problem again. In the end, he returns to Lucille 2 at Cinco de Cuatro, or at least tries, finding her dead body atop the stair car. Cue the cops arresting him as a prime suspect. It probably didn't help that he also knocked out Herbert Love. After his split from Lindsay, Tobias finds himself in a relationship with the drug-addicted Debris Bardot. The two attempt to make money posing as two of the Fantastic Four, which leads to some legal trouble. And this.
Daddy needs to get his rocks off.
Tobias goes to prison for that, obviously, but gets a work release by becoming a new resident at Lucille 2's rehab clinic. There, he reunites with Debris and attempts to stage a Fantastic Four musical, but the show ends up being a total bomb. And that's the last we see of Tobias in Season 4. I'm expecting more legal troubles for him too. Moving to the patriarch of the family, George has probably the strangest arc in the whole season. Much like driving in circles around his fake border wall, George spends Season 4 kind of going nowhere. He starts a sweat lodge scam in Mexico, tries to get the border wall built there, and learns that he's become impotent. Cue him finding a wig and moving back to the penthouse to live his new life as a woman. I know that whole setup is just an elaborate transparent joke, but like, come on guys, where's that gonna go in Season 5? Let's finish with perhaps the most criminal of all the Bluths. And I'm not just saying that because Lucille spends a big chunk of Season 4 under house arrest preparing for her trial. She's found guilty, obviously, and spends time in a high society prison, where she totally pisses off the Chinese mob.
You can't just come in and have bread for nothing around here. You have to pay bills sometime.
That's something I fully expect to come back in Season 5. I also hope to see a slight change of heart in Lucille, since she's the only character to have a real epiphany in Season 4.
I need to pay her back for everything she's done to me. I'm going back to rehab.
Good for you, Lucille. Well, that wraps it up for the Bluths. As for Season 5, we know it'll focus on Lindsay running for public office, and it looks like her campaign is based out of Lucille 2's apartment for some reason. Maybe Lucille 2 willed it to Buster before she was murdered, and you can bet the mystery around who actually killed her is going to be a big part of the plot too. We'll find out when Arrested Development Season 5 comes to Netflix on May 29th. Let us know what you thought of Season 4 in the comments, and tell us if you'd like us to cover more of the show's return right here on GS Universe. See you later, guys.